on the question of housing, Lynn, as you know, I was an early supporter of the HBPA, and the opposition to the HBPA seemed to be absolutely irrational. A different policy was adopted, as we all know, and that policy has unquestionably been a total failure. However, the argument that comes out of Washington is that actually it has not been a failure, and that indeed, during the course of the last month or two, property values have, for the most part, increased. But I have some information that I think makes clear why these people pursued the irrational policy that they did in opposing the HBPA. Today, we are told that there are 7 million homes that are eligible for foreclosure. That number is arrived at by looking at home mortgages that are 6 months or more in arrears. On top of that, there are, as far as we've been able to ascertain, at least another 12 million homes that are 3 months in arrears or more. These homes have not yet been foreclosed on. But it should be clear to everyone that the reason for that has nothing to do with Obama administration policy. And it has nothing to do with concern for those almost 20 million homeowners. The only reason that banks have not foreclosed on these 20 million is their fear of the effect of the introduction of these almost 20 million homes into the housing market and the effect that it will have on property values. This has now become known as the shadow real estate market. And the fact of the matter is that in terms of its overall magnitude, it does indeed pose a systemic risk. This, in fact, is some of the reasoning that went into opposition to HBPA. And it is, in fact, what underlies the so-called success of the Obama housing program. I wanted to share this with you because I think it's another feature of why the HBPA was opposed, and was wondering if you'd like to comment on it.
First of all, I dealt with this in the 25th of July of 2007. The whole system was coming down, I said so, and we signed legislation. Now, the legislation would have worked because the idea was to essentially suspend, first of all, the whole market, real estate market, was highly overinflated. The estimated values of this housing was often far beyond any fair estimate of value. But people have been sucked into it. And they sucked into it on the basis of an easy credit situation. In the same time, we were faced with the fact that the entire system was coming down. And it has come down. But it's come down on the people, not on the normal economy. It's come down on the people. And it was come down because of legislators and governments, with the presidential system, which were thieves. It was a swindle. It was going from a already hyperinflated system under the Federal Reserve System to a more hyperinflated system, which is now in a process of general breakdown. So in a period like this, we come back to human values. I said put a freeze on the whole thing. Just put a freeze on it. Let people buy out and buy properties and sell if they want to, at risk. They want to. But we've got to freeze this thing until we get the economy back in shape where we can have some kind of an estimate of what value is. So we get the Homeowners and Bank Protection Act, which is in a sense the intent to reestablish a Glass-Steagall system for the United States. There was no way in which you could micromanage this problem. There's no system of micromanagement that would work. You had to take drastic emergency action. The idea is we're not going to have communities destroyed. We're not going to have families destroyed. We're going to stop it. We're just going to freeze it. And if somebody doesn't like it, fine. But we're going to protect the banks from a repercussion of freezing these mortgages until we can straighten the mess up. So we protect the homeowners and the banks simultaneously. That obviously means the next step is to take a Glass-Steagall standard legislation and just go through this thing and take everything that smells like Alan Greenspan and call it trash. In other words, pare the economy down to what is a manageable level of doing business day to day. Then, having done so to get this thing under control, then introduce a program, which was my older part of the program, was to go back to what I'd attempted to do in saving the auto industry. Right? The auto industry was actually contained the heart of our machine tool capability. There were the aircraft industry and so forth. We couldn't let it go down. These sons of bitches wanted to shut it down, as they have done. I said no. We take the existing auto manufacturing industry. We put it under a certain kind of freeze. We take the floor space and the activity, and we save it. The floor space and activity required to produce automobiles, which we will produce, should be kept in operation, period. Take the burden of the part that is not productive, but is valuable floor space and skill, and townships, cities, townships, and give it a new assignment in what is good for it. What we called the automobile industry before this crowd destroyed it, it remains, in 2005, 2006, were communities and productive potentialities in populations and places which historically had been the basis of the wartime mobilization of the United States for World War II. We could make railroads. We made airplanes. We made everything. We made tanks. We made everything. And what was the heart of it? A machine tool design factor. The center of the industry is machine tool design, which goes all the way up in terms of skill, down to the development of the design of the product, which is manufactured and on the factory floor and so forth. We had millions of square feet of empty floor space owned by the automobile countries, which if transferred to projects we needed, like a new railway system, other things, we could have done it. They destroyed it. They have destroyed the whole thing. And that's my question. The challenge then was we had to put the whole thing through reorganization. Federal reorganization under emergency conditions. Keep this floor space occupied. Keep these people working. They're going to produce automobiles, we'll produce automobiles on that floor space with those people. The machine tool design people, the other skilled people living in townships here and there who are also associated with floor space, we're going to do projects there which we need. We're going to build railway systems. We're going to build other systems. We have systems we need, all kinds of systems. We're going to build them. We're going to create credit for building them. And building these things that are useful is going to increase the national economy. That's going to pay for doing it. We've got to create federal credit in order to get the credit there in order to be able to get these things to work. Well, these SOPs destroyed it all. And they should be punished. At least they should be humiliated. Huh? It's what we have to do now. It's what the world has to do now. We have all kinds of requirements. China has tremendous requirements. India has requirements. Russia has requirements. All kinds of requirements. The need for development, as in Africa, is enormous. It's all good. All this development can be paid back in the sense that it will be productive. And if it's productive, it means that you can afford it, because it's going to give something to society that you otherwise wouldn't have, which is needed. It's going to increase the productive powers of labor. So do it. That's the business of investment. Do it. Make sure it's productive. And the proceeds of increased productivity will take care of the cost. But you have to have a government system of credit which mediates that process. And that's what we still have to do today. There's no change from that. We have to go back a few years, and everything I said we should have done a few years ago, we go back and do it. And we make the guys who should have done it, who stopped it, do it. They spoiled it, they should fix it.